What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So if you would please hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. That helps me out quite a lot. We're pushing up, edging up towards 100. I've only had this channel for about a month, so I think that's pretty good. Getting noticed there a little bit. So what we're going to talk about today is the Israel Adesanya Nasruddin Imavov fight that is coming up February the 1st. Now, I was shocked that Israel Adesanya is actually a minus 185 favorite here. A lot of people are probably surprised that I'm surprised about that, but we're going to talk a little bit about why I'm surprised. I think that Nasruddin Imavov is going to give Israel Adesanya quite a bit of trouble in this fight, and we're going to talk about why that is, okay? Because I think this could be, what we could be seeing is the beginning of the end, the beginning of the downhill slope for Israel Adesanya. And, you know, the UFC loves to kind of devalue guys. They want them losing on the way out, right? Especially if there's a chance that they probably won't re-sign with the UFC. You know, they're wanting to devalue those guys so that when they go to another promotion, they don't have the same sort of value as what they had when they were with the UFC, okay? So it's just something they do. They've always done it. I know it sounds effed up, but it is what it is. That's what they do. So I think we're starting to see that decline of Israel Adesanya, and I do think it's purposeful that he's being given Nasruddin Imavov. There's two reasons. One of them is he's already fought everybody else up there. Dreykus, he's fought Sean Strickland, lost to both of those guys. Khamzat Chimaev. There's no doubt that, that I don't know how many fights they have left on Izzy's contract, but they didn't want to give him Khamzat that quickly. Khamzat walks right through Israel Adesanya, and they still need some value out of him for a few more fights. So the UFC strategically plans stuff like this, right? They're giving him a guy right now who they feel pretty confident can probably beat him, and they're trying to kind of elevate this guy's name off of Israel Adesanya. I think they feel like Nasruddin can beat Izzy, but it's not one of those that's just going to be a walkthrough where he's going to go in there, drag him down to the floor, and submit him in 30 seconds like it would be with Khamzat. I literally think that's probably how that fight would take place, okay? So, you got Sean Strickland ranked at number 1. Izzy's at number 2 right now. Khamzat's at 3. Robert Whitaker, number 4, and then Nasruddin is at number 5. A lot of people say Israel Adesanya is a long-standing champion. Why are they giving him a number 5 guy? That's why they're giving him the number 5 guy. And I think Nasruddin gives Izzy some trouble, okay? Now, if we look at Izzy's last few fights, obviously he has the loss to Duplessis. He has the loss to Sean Strickland before that. The fight before that is when he actually got revenge on and knocked out Alex Pereira. Before that, he lost to Alex Pereira. Now let's look at the three fights before that. Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, Marvin Vettori. All three, which are around 6 foot, 6'1", not very tall individuals, good strikers, decent fighters, but not great kickboxers like Israel Adesanya. You're talking about a glory kickboxing guy. For years and years and years, Izzy did this. So Cannonier, Whitaker, and Vettori all chose Izzy's poison, which is to stand up and kickbox at range. Now, I know a couple, Robert tried to take him down this last time they fought. Vettori made a couple of kind of lackluster efforts, but nobody was ever really successful at doing that, okay? So they stood up, played his game, and they lost a unanimous decision. All three of them did, okay? The fight before that, Izzy goes up to 205 and takes on Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz beats Israel Adesanya. How did he do that? He did that by crushing that space, closing the distance, getting inside, dragging him down to the mat, and controlling him. He won that fight on control time. Now, Jan didn't look bad on the feet. He had a couple of moments here and there, and I think part of that was due to he had already taken Izzy down a couple of times. Izzy felt that power, felt that control there. I think he knew that he was kind of, going up against a bigger guy. I mean, Izzy weighed in at 200 pounds, when he fought Jan. Jan obviously was at the 205 limit. There's no telling what he rehydrated to. So you're looking at, probably a good 15 to 20 pound difference in those guys on fight night. And I think Izzy felt that when Jan took him to the ground. So he was a little bit hesitant in his striking, I think, because he was trying to keep Jan from taking him down again because he knew he was losing the fight there. Okay. So it makes guys more hesitant with their striking when they've got a guy who could possibly duck up under a punch, duck up under a kick, grab you, drag you down to the mat, and then you're getting controlled for the rest of the round. Okay. So anyway, that's how he ended up losing the fight to Jan Blachowicz, or Blachowicz, however you want to say its name. I hear people say it different ways. All right. Before that, Costa. Before that, Romero. Again, two guys that should have been trying to grapple him, should have been trying to drag him to the ground. They sat there and played kickboxing with a glory kickboxing specialist, plus being 3 or 4 inches shorter, having a lower reach. You know, neither Romero or Costa are over 6 foot, 6'1", and you know, they sat and tried to play kickboxing with Israel Adesanya. Before that, Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum is a decent kickboxer, but Kelvin Gastelum is a short, stubby Mexican guy. Now, he's tough as hell, and he's good at what he does, but he's in there trying to play kickboxing tit for tat with someone like Izzy Adesanya, who's 4 inches taller than he is, maybe even more. Kelvin Gastelum may even be less than 6 foot. He might be more like 5'10", 5'11". He's not a very tall guy. So, you know, I think that Israel Adesanya had a good run there for a while with opponents who he was better than in the striking realm, and that chose to stand up and give the fans a good show, and chose to stand up and play to Israel Adesanya's strengths. Okay. Nasruddin Imavov, I don't believe, is going to do that. Okay. And there's two things about Nasruddin's style that I think is going to give Israel Adesanya trouble. The first thing is pace. Okay. That's how he beat Jared Cannonier. Okay. He beat Allen. Obviously, Allen is also a very, very good grappler. That's kind of a strength in his game. Imavov was able to win a unanimous decision over him. Before that, he beat Cannonier. Granted, that fight was stopped a little bit early, but he had Cannonier hurt, you know. And the thing is, Cannonier is not bad. He's a good kickboxer if you stay on the distance with him. But Imavov is so good about just pressing guys, and he does not stand. He's not the kind of guy that's going to stand on the outside, stand on the edge with someone like Israel Adesanya and have a kickboxing match with him. He's going to crush that space. He's going to try to get in a phone booth with him so he can throw hooks and uppercuts, grab him by the neck, throw those knees, slip an elbow in there. That's the kind of fighter we're talking about. And if you need some sort of sense of how Nasruddin is one of those guys that forces people to fight in ways that they don't normally fight. Okay, if you go back and watch that fight between Nasruddin and Sean Strickland, granted, Sean Strickland won the fight by unanimous decision. It was actually a close fight if you go back and watch it. I think Sean was somewhat lucky to get by with the unanimous decision on that. It was a close fight when you go back and watch it. Now, the way that Nasruddin gave Sean Strickland trouble is he did not allow Sean Strickland to sit on the outside and jab and teep his way to a decision. Sean Strickland is typically, with his Philly shell style, very reserved, very conservative, only throws punches that he thinks he's going to land, sort of thing. I don't know how many wild overhand rights that just came out of nowhere that I saw Sean Strickland throw in that fight against Imavov. That is due to the pressure and that crushing pace and crushing the space of Nasruddin Imavov. He has a tendency to make guys who normally fight conservatively have to fight at a pace that they're just not used to fighting at. And he had Sean Strickland throwing punches that I was just like, wait, well, I mean, there was times where Sean Strickland looked like Justin Gaethje against Habib. You know how he just coming out of nowhere with these wild overhand rights, not even looking at his opponent when he was throwing. I don't know how many shots like that I saw Sean Strickland throw against Nasruddin. And when I saw that, even though Sean did win the fight, that concerned me. That concerned me for Israel Adesanya coming up in this fight. Okay, because Israel Adesanya is one of those guys where he's at his best when guys sit on the outside and play tit for tat with him, play kickboxing with him. You know, I'll hit you, you try to hit me. I'll throw a kick, you try to come back with something, and we'll see who wins that exchange. Well, in a kickboxing match, this is MMA, in a kickboxing match, Israel Adesanya, 9 times out of 10, is going to win that. There are certain people that are defensively responsible enough, like Pereira for the most part, and Sean Strickland, that have been able to get over on Izzy in that way and still beat him kind of at his own game sort of thing. But for the most part, there's not many guys that can do that with Izzy. Nasruddin Imavov is not going to do that with Israel Adesanya. He is going to be in his face and pushing the pace 100% of that fight. I mean, if you go and look at Nasruddin Imavov's highlight reel, it's just constant. I mean, he's just constantly moving forward, constantly in guys' faces, throwing hooks, throwing uppercuts, coming in with lead elbows, grabbing the back of the neck, hitting to the body with the knee. I mean, he's just constantly in motion. Constantly in motion. Now, one thing I can see happening, I can see him going in there and kind of maybe being starstruck a little bit, because you got Israel Adesanya, who is a very long-standing, established champion for the UFC. Okay, sometimes guys get up here, you know, Imavov, he's at number 5 now. I mean, he's faced some good guys, but sometimes they get up here in the very, very top, and they see a face standing across from them, someone like Israel Adesanya. Sometimes they get a little starstruck, and they just, you know, it's kind of like a snake charmer, you know, and Izzy does have a tendency to kind of do that with guys. So unless Imavov just completely changes up his style for Izzy and decides to stand out on the outside and play kickboxing with him, I see Imavov taking over in this fight. Now, I don't think it'll be immediately, because Israel obviously is a dangerous guy. He's a sharpshooter. He's a good striker. And I'm not saying that he can't, you know, land punches on the inside and stuff like that. I'm sure they'll be looking for that and looking for that style with Imavov. So Izzy's going to be dangerous at first. Obviously, Imavov and his team are not going to have some plan for him to just flippantly and just aimlessly run in there trying to hit Izzy with something, because if you do, you're going to get caught with something. You know, Pereira learned that, you know, in their second fight in the UFC. You know, Izzy's up here doing this up against the fence. I mean, here Pereira thought it was his time to shine and go ahead and finish him off. Next thing you know, he's getting hit with a counter right that stuns him, you know, and Izzy has been known to be a sharpshooter in that way. So I concede to the fact that there is a way. Obviously, there is a way that Izzy can win this. And I think if Nasruddin goes in there and he's a little too greedy, a little too eager, or maybe standing across from a face like Israel Adesanya does, you know, shake him up a little bit, and the adrenaline gets going a little too much, and he gets a little greedy, a little thoughtless, a little careless in there. I can see him coming in, maybe leaving himself open, and then Israel countering him and finishing. But that's the only way I think that's going to happen, because if this fight goes past 2 rounds, 3 rounds, on into the 4th round, I believe that Nasruddin is going to overtake Israel Adesanya, because this dude does not slow down. Okay. And I was convinced when I saw his fight against, was it Sabajian? Edwin Sabazian, man, look, Sabazian is a guy whose grappling is right on point, right? Tough guy too. I mean, judo specialist, used to train with Ronda Rousey. I mean, I'm not tooting Ronda Rousey's horn. We're talking about judo here, though. You know, she was an Olympic judo player, so trained with her. I mean, just a really, really good ground attack guy, and he didn't have anything for Imavov on the ground, not one thing. Not to mention, every time they were on the feet, Imavov was just in his face, pushing him back up against the fence, throwing these elbows out of nowhere, you know, trying to grab the back of the neck to get him off balance, you know, to land the knee. Or, I mean, he's one of those guys that comes in throwing punches and leaves the pocket throwing punches. He just never stops. And I think really the pace of Imavov is what's going to be tough for Israel Adesanya in this fight. And I just think Izzy's not, I mean, he's only 35. He's not even 36 yet. So I'm not saying he's like old. I mean, he's getting there. You know, he's getting on the tail end of what is considered to be, you know, prime, I guess you could say. But I just think it's a bad style matchup for Israel Adesanya. I think the UFC knows that it's a bad style matchup for Israel Adesanya. And I think one thing that they are trying to do with this, they're giving him, which I know the timing's not quite right because Robert Whittaker and Khamzat just had a match recently. But I think they looked at Khamzat versus Izzy and they thought, no, you know, we still got a couple of fights left for Izzy. We don't want to just make him look like a complete loser and a complete waste in there, you know. And I think that's how that fight would have played out between Izzy and Khamzat. So obviously you got Khamzat. I think I said he was number 3. Yeah, Khamzat's ranked at number 3. Robert Whittaker number 4. You know, obviously Izzy's already faced Robert Whittaker multiple times. We're going to give him Robert. So I think that they gave him Nasruddin as a play to get him beat, to kind of, you know, bring in some new fresh meat, some new fresh blood, this Imavov guy. And I think they're looking to start seeing Izzy do this. But a guy like Izzy, who still has a lot of fans worldwide and can still pull in a lot of good numbers, you know, when it comes to watch eyeballs. You know, there's a lot of people still want to see Izzy. And he typically, for the most part, has a style-friendly fan, a fan-friendly style. Sorry, is what I meant to say there. So he's, for the most part, fun to watch. People usually tend to like the stand-up kickboxing matches where people are landing good kicks and strikes, you know, and that's kind of Izzy's style. So they don't want to completely just get him beat and humiliated yet. They're not ready for that. They're not there yet with Izzy in his career, but I think they did want to get him beat. And I think that Nasruddin Imavov is one of those guys who is going to beat him, but it's going to still give the fans a good show, and it's still going to give Izzy a little bit of opportunity to shine too. Imavov's not one of those people that's just going to go in there, grab him, throw him straight to the mat, and then he's going to be out of there in a few. I mean, that could happen. That could happen. I think if it goes to the ground, Imavov, you know, definitely is going to come out on top, is going to win that battle. But he's not going to do to him what Khamzat would do to Izzy. Okay, and I think that's what the UFC is looking at. They're trying to they want him beat, but they don't want him humiliated. Okay, Israel Adesanya has a huge name for the UFC. He's done a lot for the UFC, done a lot for their brand, done a lot to draw eyeballs and attention to UFC's brand, and he's still a very popular fighter. Okay, and he's not far removed from being that dominant champion that held things down for quite a long time in the middleweight division. So they don't want to see him humiliated, but they do want to start moving in this fresh meat, this fresh blood. And I think Nasruddin is a good guy that they feel like is going to give the fans a good, solid main event because, I mean, Israel Adesanya is good enough where he, when's the last time you saw Israel Adesanya just get put out of there just like that? No, that's not going to happen. And Nasruddin's not the kind of guy that's just going to run straight across the octagon and just grab him by the legs. Although he could possibly do that, being in there with a known sniper and a very high level striker, it is possible. But I don't think that will be his game plan. I think his game plan will be to do just what I said: crush the space, put that pace, that relentless pace on Izzy, keep him backing up the whole fight, never let Izzy come forward, pushing him back up against the fence where it's crushing the distance. It doesn't give Izzy a chance to stand back and set up his kicks and set up his punches and stuff like that. I think he's going to be looking to stay on Izzy the whole fight. And I'm not going to say, I don't know if he'll finish Izzy, but I'm going to say that he's going to win a unanimous decision, because I think Israel is one of those guys that when he gets somebody who just will not let him breathe, he's at his weakest then. Israel is at his strongest when he's got guys who will stand on the outside with him and play tit for tat in a kickboxing game. Nasruddin Imavov is not going to do that. He's going to be in his face the whole time. He's always throwing something, and he also likes the takedown too, especially on into the fight. When he starts to get guys worn down a little bit, he'll start going for that more. So I think Nasruddin's got it. I hate to say it's kind of the end of an era there, because I do think there's quite a few people in the middleweight division that Israel can still beat, but I don't think Nasruddin's one of them. I'm not saying he can't beat him, but I don't think he will. I think out of 10 fights, Nasruddin, just based on his style alone, probably wins 7 of them. So that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel if you would, like the video, and comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win this? Think Izzy gets a win on this, or do you think he's kind of starting to trend downward? Let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Peace.